In this last lesson of foundations, we're going to talk about the third foundational truth. We've already talked about how we start a relationship with God, which is by trusting Jesus, not by just trying to be a better person. And then in truth 2, we talked about how to live as a Christian, and that is that we should honor God with our lives. God doesn't want us to just go live however we want, but He has a way for us to live. He wants us to please Him with our everyday lives. And this third truth is about how to grow. We grow by helping others. In a lot of churches and a lot of religions, people think that growth is all about being the smartest person on the block or the smartest person in the church or in the group. But that's not really what Jesus cares so much about. Remember we talked about in lesson 1 that when the Pharisees, the religious leaders, came to Jesus and they said, "What's the greatest law?" Remember what He said is, love God and love people as yourself. And so what He was saying is relationship is the most important. And so see, as you grow, you begin to love God more, and the natural outpouring of that is you're going to love people more. Because of your relationship with God that's been made right, your relationship with people is going to be more and more important as you go. Jesus said it like this to His disciples. He said, "Whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else." See, Jesus was flipping this whole concept of greatness on its head. He was saying, if you really want to be great, you have to become a servant. You have to love people like Jesus loves people. It's not about how much you know or how strong or smart or anything else that you are. It's all about how much you can love other people. That's what maturity and growth is all about. And so that means that we grow by serving people, not just by being the ones always being served. This is what Jesus Himself did in John chapter 13 at His very last supper with His disciples before He went to the cross. He did this really strange thing. He took a serving towel, He wrapped it around His waist, and He went around and He started washing all of His disciples' feet. Now that was really weird back then for someone of Jesus's greatness to lower himself, because that was the job reserved for the lowest servant in the household. But Jesus did it to prove a point and to teach His disciples a lesson. After washing their feet, He put on His robe again and He sat down and He said, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I've given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." Jesus was teaching about maturity. He was teaching about greatness. He said, if you really want to be great, then you should wash other people's feet, because the great ones are the ones serving other people. That's not how our world works. In our world, the great ones, quote unquote, are the ones that are having everyone serve them. But that's not how it works in God's kingdom, so don't fall for that. If you really want to grow and mature, look to serve other people. And that also means that we should give financially to God's work. Looking outward and helping other people means that it changes our priorities with our pocketbooks. We start looking at how we spend our money and we say, I want to start moving some of this over here. I want to start giving to kingdom purposes. If you're a pursuer of God, you should give to your local church. If it's a godly church and if it's helping to make disciples, you should give financially to that on a regular basis. That's what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 8. He said, since you excel in so many ways, in your faith, in your gifted speakers, in your knowledge, in your enthusiasm, and your love from us, I want you to also excel in this gracious act of giving. See, apparently in the church in Corinth 2,000 years ago, they were really good and mature at all these other things, but they weren't very good at giving. Don't forget, even if you're a brand new believer, begin the discipline in your life of giving financially to your local church and to missions around the world that help people pursue God. And here's the greatest way to grow as a Christian, and it's by mentoring others. Now, maybe you're sitting there saying, whoa, what are you talking about? This mentoring idea. Maybe you just became a Christian last week, and now I'm saying that eventually you should be mentoring someone else. Well, that's how Jesus envisioned it. And don't forget, Jesus called a bunch of fishermen, and He said, come, follow me, and I'm going to help you change the world. And that's exactly what happened. Jesus didn't call the smartest and the brightest, no offense. Jesus called regular people to make an impact on the people in their world. Now, in the Bible, Jesus called that disciple making. We like to use the word mentoring, and everyone can do it. Matthew 28, Jesus came and told his disciples, I've been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations. Jesus was saying this, you guys are going to be the ones to go out and change the world. And the way you do it is by personally helping somebody else pursue God. That's what mentoring is going full circle and saying, listen, I've started by trusting Jesus. I'm learning how to live to honor God. And now I want to grow and mature by going full circle and helping other people do the same thing, to start a relationship with God, to live a life that honors God, and to go around and help even more people to pursue God. This was the plan and strategy of Jesus all along, and this is what a pursuit of God is all about. Now use those resources below to talk about this with your small group or your mentor. And one of the series that you should consider taking to learn more about mentoring is a series called Mentor Training. You can find it in the resources below.